Hi everyone, this is Brian Neal with Tradetobefree.com, and today I want to talk about some of the big earnings trades that we've taken recently and some really huge moves in the market. We just made a few $1,000s, it looks like, on this big trade on Align Technologies, and we also had a swing trade on it. We first featured Align Technology this month in our weekly alert newsletter, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over here for you so you can see the screen. Here we go. This is the weekly alert newsletter on our site, Tradetobefree.com, and what we do is we find the top growth stocks and companies beating estimates with rising future expectations, and we find those stocks in a very strong long-term uptrend, usually breaking out consolidation patterns. And in this case, we had Align Technologies breaking out of a flat base, and you can see that flat base through here where the price kind of moved sideways. You had a real strong uptrend leading into the pattern, and then the breakout. We knew this stock had one of the best earnings beats last quarter. Last quarter they beat, on this day right here, and you can see the price went up quite a bit that day and then continued to trend higher. We also, made the call before, I believe, that quarter and also the quarter before that too. Last night it did it again. It beat estimates by a very wide margin. This is one of the top growth stocks in the market, and it's one that's often overlooked by a lot of traders. They don't really pay much attention to it sometimes, I think. And right now the valuation is still within reason, and it's breaking out strongly after a very big earnings beat where they beat on the top line, the bottom line, and also raised guidance, which is key. And I'm going to show you what we're looking at pre-market to know that this might be a big play. We can see here, this is a 5-minute chart, and you can see the big earnings beat after hours. Those who took the swing trade in the newsletter got out around in here for about a 15% profit, I believe, 15-20% profit. The other trade, though, is an earnings trade, an earnings eruptions trade, which is taught on our site. And we see this several times, at least several times a month during earnings season. We've seen probably 4 of these in the past 2 weeks already. Align fit the criteria in that earnings eruptions trading setup, and this is a very high probability trading setup. And we've done some back testing on this and shown 85 to 90% success rate as long as the setup meets all the criteria in the earnings eruptions course, which is covered on our site. If you go to our blog or go to the products tab on our site, you can find more information about the earnings eruptions trade. There's a whole presentation on it that will teach you it in detail. But usually what we want to see is this flat base pattern ahead of the bell, and that's what we saw here. Price then hit the entry point soon after the bell, and usually you see a pretty nice move soon after that. Now today we had Amazon after a big earnings beat, Microsoft, and Facebook was running today too, and so you had a lot of attention on those stocks and all the FANG stocks today, and not as much attention on stocks like this. But it set up real nicely. It hit the entry point but then pulled back, and our stop loss point on this was around 220 or 222 on this today. And so as long as it held above there, we were okay. And sometimes if, on these stocks that have the big gap up on the big earnings beat with the guidance raise, if they have the right chart pattern ahead of the bell, if they have other technical criteria ahead of the bell, and after the market opens, we'll jump in on that first technical entry point, which occurred right in here. And then after that, it kind of moves sideways, though. And you'll notice that on some of these, especially this quarter, we saw that on Adobe, I think, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago. And it did basically the same thing. It really gapped up a lot, had the strong pre-market pattern. Okay, it went above the pre-market high, but then kind of moved sideways for a while. And then it finally broke out for good later in the morning. And on the very top growth stocks in the market, if they have that real strong long-term uptrend, if they have a really big beat and the guidance raise and all the things that we look for, and if they break out later in the morning, that's actually a good thing, because recently these tend to make really good moves out of that delayed breakout. And that's what we saw today in Align. We were looking at getting in with a second position at 228, because really it's almost treated as a separate trade when you see this long sideways consolidation throughout the morning, and then you see a breakout later in the morning. It's almost a different type of trade. So what we did was we had a second trade on this. We added to it right through here, and we thought they could go up 3 to 5% from there. That's pretty typical with this kind of trading setup. Now, a line is holding strongly above these levels here. It's holding well above the breakout point, which was 228. So this may continue to go higher. When you see that strong consolidation later in the morning, that's usually a very good sign. Okay, so this may continue to go higher, but we took some off at about a 1% or so profit, took a little off there, and then we took more off around a 3% profit or so, and then we're going to hold the rest and let the rest ride. This will probably go up more over the next 2-3 days. There's a good chance it will break above the highs today on Monday, which is likely the next good entry point on Monday morning. If it breaks above today's high, it might go up another 2-3% from there at least, and we should hit 240, 245 in that area before we see this start consolidating and pull back, is my guess. But we'll just continue to raise a stop below the prior low on a 5-minute chart. We'll give it more room this afternoon. So maybe we'll drop a stop below here maybe, or below here perhaps. But this should come back to 233, 234, or there's a good chance of that happening. And then from there, I think we'll see another move higher again into the 240s. This is a great example of a very good earnings trade. Okay, it had a very big gap up, had a very strong pre-market pattern. It's a top growth stock. One of the things that you'll notice with this stock, if you look at a long-term chart, is that it has a very strong long-term uptrend. You'll see these tight consolidations and the next move higher. Not a lot of sharp pullbacks through here, just climbing a mountain basically over time. And if you go back further, you'll even see that over a multi-year chart. If we go to a three-year chart here, you'll see that it's a very strong long-term uptrend. Okay, and that's great if you're looking for a swing trade on a top growth stock. It's also very good if you're day trading. Okay, so if you want a high probability day trade with a greater than 80% chance of success, this is a really good setup. And the nice thing about it is that once it breaks out later in the morning, after it has this tight consolidation, if it breaks out later in the morning like this, recently these go up 3-5% pretty easily, and you can play them with a very tight stop loss. Now, if you buy at the open, which I like to do, I like to buy pretty close to the open if it hits the entry point, which I do that normally. But if you find these later in the morning and you see that big earnings beat, you see it gapping much, much higher, not 5% or 7% higher, you want to see a much larger gap higher than that to have a higher chance of success. But if you see that really big gap higher, it consolidates, goes sideways till late in the morning, and then breaks out, okay, on a decent day for the market. Doesn't have to be strongly up. It can be slightly down for the day. That's fine too. If it's a strong down day and a downtrend, I would probably avoid this trade. If you see that entry point hit right through here, in this case, I was looking for a move above 238. You can play this with a very tight stop loss and be successful. In the back testing that I've done, around a 0.6% stop loss seems to be ideal, or a 1.25% stop loss. But I found that even if you have like a 0.6, 0.7% stop loss on these type of setups, okay, with all those factors I talked about, the catalyst and everything else, okay, you need the catalyst. These very often make big moves with a very tight stop loss. Okay, so great trading setup, and a lot of people don't realize that this exists, and don't realize how high a percentage of success this is, and consequently miss out. So we saw this on Adobe, like I said, recently, did the same thing. We saw one like this on Netflix earlier in the year. May have done it this quarter too, I'm not sure. I'd have to look back. But it's a great setup, and today we made, I think, around $4,000 between the trades. We actually took this trade in two different accounts. In this one account here, I think we made $3,200 on this, looks like, so far. That might be $4,000 before it's all said and done. And then we made quite a bit more on a second account that we took this trade on too. So this is an excellent trading setup. Look for those top growth stocks. beating estimates by a wide margin with the guidance raise, and look for these late morning breakouts. Sometimes they tend not to go as far as quickly as when they occur early in the morning. Okay, we had another one that didn't quite meet all the criteria in First Solar, but I almost jumped in on it anyways. I kicking myself for not doing it. It charged through here to the pre-market highs. Didn't quite meet all the criteria in our earnings eruption scores. Okay, but it had a ton of volume early on. It charged right through the pre-market highs. I should have got in, somewhere in here, but I was focused on Aligned Technologies today, and that went up like I think 8%, 10% around that area. Yeah, 10% I think from that ideal entry point. If it doesn't meet all the criteria in the course, sometimes it'll work out well, other times it won't, and I know that through my own experience and back testing. So I'm a little more careful with those type of setups where it's not gapping high enough and it's not other factors aren't present. I think First Solar is long term. I don't know if it's going to continue to trend higher. But one thing about First Solar though, this trade that I missed this morning and didn't see it first because again I was focused on a line so much. It was breaking out this flat base pattern on a daily chart. So I should have had that on my radar. I should have had that break of I think 53. Yeah, 53 on my radar and got in there once it got, 1/10 of 1%, 5-10 cents above there. Would have been a real nice entry point this morning on that. But I was focused on this one, and I know the stock, I know the company pretty well. I know they're a really good story, and I wanted to make sure I got that. So, so a really good day for us in the market, and like I said, this may break above here, 236.21 on Monday, and then make another move into the 240s, and that will be a good trade too. It might do that this afternoon as well. So we're going to hang on to the remainder of our position here and see how far that goes. Okay, well, that's about it for now, guys. Thanks for listening. And if you want to learn more about the earnings eruptions trade, go to our site, click on the products tab. I'll put a link down below in the comment box too. So if you just click that comments area down below the video, you'll get that link to the earnings eruptions video course, and you can watch that presentation and learn more about it. And we also have a discount if you want to buy the full course, buy the complete course. There's also a discount on that too right now. So, all right, that's about it. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again real soon.